Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Nikhil Kashyap, Assistant Professor at Amity University. Today we'll be discussing the module Sentencing as a Means of Ensuring Victim Justice. Sentencing is a very crucial part of criminal trial. It is indeed the last part of the trial. Sentencing takes place at a stage where the accused has been convicted by the court. It is that stage of criminal justice system where the actual punishment of the convict is decided by the judge. In Halsbury Law of England, the object of punishment is stated as follows. The aim of punishment are now considered to be retribution, justice, deterrence, reformation, and protection. Modern sentencing policy reflects a combination of several or all of these aims. The retributive element is intended to show public revulsion to the offense and to punish the offender for the wrong conduct. The concept of justice as an aim of punishment means both that the punishment should fit the offense and also that like offenses should receive similar punishments. An increasingly important aspect of punishment is deterrence, and sentences are aimed at deterring not only the actual offender from further offenses but also the offenders from breaking the law. Other jurists have suggested various purposes and objectives of sentencing. Some of them are deterrence, denunciation, rehabilitation, and protection of society. Deterrence refers to the process of avoiding similar future criminal conduct by the offender as well as society at large. Deterrence is a purpose through which it is believed that the punishment can reduce crime. Denunciation refers to the act of society that shows the feeling of hatred from the crime committed. It is a way to convey the offender that the disliking of the act of the offender. Rehabilitation is the process by which the offender is reformed, rehabilitated to be a part of civil society. The later purpose is to protect the society from the reoccurrence of the crime by the same offender. Various jurists and legal thinkers suggest that the main purpose of the sentencing is to protect the society. The aim can be achieved by reforming the convict and preventing others from committing the crime in future. In all of these, the victim could only get revenge from the crime committed against him or her. Till date, pertinent question that remains unanswered is that what does the victim expect from the sentencing and what does actually they get in complete process of justice. This module will be focusing on concept of justice, importance of sentencing in a criminal trial, relationship between victim and sentencing, judicial response to the victim's pain and suffering while sentencing, and lastly we'll be coming on role and expectations of victim from sentencing. The ancient author Manu stated that the most important sanction behind any state is force. He further adds that if the force is not used, then the law of the jungle will prevail. He says Dand is the only savior of people's life and property. He acknowledges the importance of using the physical force in the rightful manner. The only way that a man might be kept pure and righteous was by fear of Dand or punishment. Manu felt the king's mode of application of Dand was the key to the prosperity and destruction of the individual and the community. In the ancient Indian political system, it was the responsibility of the king to maintain dharma by means of Dand. It was widely believed that it is the only through fear of punishment that a mankind can be made more disciplined. It is this punishment that keeps a check on their actions consciously or subconsciously. The modern sentencing or Dand is defined as a punishment given to a person convicted of a crime. A criminal sentence refers to the formal legal consequences associated with a conviction. A sentence is ordered by the judge based on the verdict of the jury or the judge's decision if there is no jury, within the possible punishments set by state law. In other words, sentencing means the amount of jail, fine, community service, etc. are ordered against the accused for committing a crime. It is a general belief in courts that sentences should suit the crime as well as the criminal. The sentence is a very important part of the criminal justice system. The importance of sentencing is stated by Mr. Thomas Szasz, a US psychiatrist, in his book, The Second Sin, Punishment, 1973. He stated, if he who breaks the law is not punished, he who obeys it is cheated. This alone is why lawbreakers ought to be punished, to authenticate as good and to encourage as useful law-abiding behavior. The aim of criminal law cannot be correction or deterrence. It can only be the maintenance of legal order. Further, the Supreme Court in Dhananjay Chatterjee versus State of West Bengal stated, the importance of appropriate sentence. I quote, imposition of appropriate punishment is the manner in which the courts respond to the society's cry for justice against the criminals. Justice demands that courts should impose punishment befitting the crime so that the court reflect public abhorrence of the crime. These lines provide that the sentencing is a medium for the judiciary to respond back to the society's cry for justice. Punishment provided in a case is the outcome of the criminal trial in a court. If the resultant is not appropriate, even though the process was perfect, still the process will remain a complete failure. So, the sentencing part is very important to reach the correct resultant of the criminal trial. It is imperative that the sentencing is done by the courts. These courts are guided by the punishment prescribed by the legislature. The legislature has prescribed maximum punishment for most of the crimes, which is in return provide very wide discretion to the courts. Supreme Court, High Courts and Law Commission of India on various occasions have provided parameters and standards or to pass sentence in a criminal trial. To start with, the 47th report of Law Commission of India on the trial and punishment of the social and economic offences stated many factors for sentencing an offender. They are the nature of offence, the circumstances extenuating and aggravating the offence, the prior criminal record, if any of the offender, the age of the offender, the professional, social record of the offender, the background, the offender with reference to education, home life and mental condition of the offender, the prospective rehabilitation of the offender, the possibility of treatment or training of the offender. Lastly, the sentence by serving as a deterrent in the community for reoccurrence of the particular offence. The apex court of the country also stated various factors in reaching a composite and a satisfactory sentence. In Gopal Singh versus State of Uttarakhand, the Supreme Court suggested the considerations while passing the sentences. The court stated that, and I quote, just punishment is a collective cry of the society. While the collective cry has to be kept uppermost in the mind, simultaneously the principle of proportionality between the crime and punishment cannot be totally brushed aside. The principle of just punishment is the bedrock of sentencing in respect of a criminal offence. A punishment should not be disproportionately excessive. The concept of proportionality allows a significant discretion to the judge, but the same has to be guided by certain principles. In certain cases, the nature of culpability, the antecedents of the accused, the factum of age, the potentiality of the convict to become a criminal in future, capability of his reformation and to lead an acceptable life in the prevalent milieu, the affect, propensity to become a social threat or nuisance and sometimes lapse of time in the commission of the crime, and his conduct in the interregnum bearing in the mind of the nature of the offence, the relationship between the parties and attractability of the doctrine of bringing the convict to the value-based social mainstream may be the guiding factors. Needless to emphasize, these are certain illustrative aspects put forth in a condensed manner. We may hasten to add that there can neither be a straitjacket formula nor a solvable theory in mathematical exactitude. It would be dependent on the facts of the case and rationalized judicial discretion. Neither the personal perception of a judge or a self-adhered moralistic vision nor hypothetical apprehension should be allowed to have any play. For every offence, a drastic measure cannot be thought of. Similarly, an offender can be allowed to be treated with leniency solely on the ground of the discretion vested in a court. The real requisite is to weigh the circumstances in which the crime has been committed and other concomitant factors which we have indicated herein before and also have been stated in a number of pronouncements by this court. On such touchstone, the sentence are to be imposed. The discretion should not be in the realm of a fancy. It should be embedded in the conceptual essence of just punishment. The above stated case not only provides factor related to sentencing or reforming the offender, rather illustrates the objectivity in sentencing. It further prescribes various courts to attain an unbiased approach towards achieving the objectivity of sentencing. Lord Denning, appearing before the Royal Commission on Capital Punishment, expressed his views on the objectives to be achieved from punishment. I quote, "Punishment is the way in which the society expresses its denunciation of wrongdoing in order to maintain respect for law. It is the essential that punishment inflicted for grave crimes should be adequately reflect the revulsion felt by the great majority of the citizens. For them, it is a mistake to consider the object of punishment as being deterrent or reformative or preventive and nothing else. The truth is that some crimes are so outrageous that society insists on adequate punishment because wrong does deserves it, irrespective of whether it is deterrent or not. Punishment must be severe enough to act as a deterrent, but not too severe enough to be brutal. Similarly, punishment should be moderate enough to be human, but cannot be moderate to be ineffective. The balance between the punishment and crime is a necessity. From the above discussion, the points to remember are: the sentencing is a medium for the judiciary to respond back to the society's cry for justice. Punishment should be proportionate to the crime, and it should be neither excessive nor moderate. Till now, we have understood the concept and importance of sentencing. We have further discussed the various factors that can be useful in reaching the appropriate sentence. Let us now discuss the role and importance of victim in a criminal trial. It is pertinent to start with the importance of the victim in a state of a criminal justice India today. The government notification constituting the Criminal Justice Reforms Committee, that is Malimat Committee, observed, people by and large have lost confidence in the criminal justice system. Victims feel ignored and are crying for attention and justice. There is a need for developing a cohesive system in which all parts work in coordination to achieve the common goal. From the victim's perspective, there can be two sets of rights that are considered in many jurisdictions across the world. First right is to participate in a criminal proceeding, and lastly, the right to compensate for the injuries or harm suffered, etc. In a criminal proceeding, the most important part of sentencing, there are many factors that might make the sentence harsh or light. Both the scenarios of the sentencing are not good for the society at large. In the year 1985, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Declaration of Basic Principles of Justice for victims of crime and abuse of power, in which one of the rights was providing assistance to the victim during the criminal trial. Recently, the debate has been initiated with regard to inclusion of victim's perspective in the reaching of the corrective sentence. It is pertinent to understand what considerations is given by the Supreme Court to the victim's point of view while sentencing the convict. The apex court stated importance of sentencing in Alistair Anthony Pereira versus State of Maharashtra, and I quote, "Sentencing policy an important task in the matters of crime. One of the prime objectives of the criminal law is imposition of appropriate, adequate, just and proportionate sentence commensurate with the nature and gravity of crime and the manner in which the crime is done. There is no straitjacket formula for sentencing an accused and on proof of the crime. The courts have evolved certain principles. Twin objectives of the sentencing policy are deterrence and correction. What sentence would meet the ends of justice depends on the facts and circumstances of each case, and the court must keep in mind the gravity of the crime, motive for the crime, nature of the offense, and all other attendant circumstances. The principle of proportionality in sentencing a crime doer are well entrenched in criminal jurisprudence. As a matter of law, proportion between crime and the punishment bears most relevant influence in determination of sentencing the crime. The court has to take into consideration all aspects including social interest and consciousness of the society for award of appropriate sentence. Further, in state of Karnataka versus Krishnappa, the Supreme Court held that, and I quote, the measure of punishment in a case of rape cannot depend on the social status of the victim or the accused. It must depend upon the conduct of the accused, the state and age of the sexually assaulted female, and the gravity of the criminal act. Crimes of violence upon women need to be severely dealt with. The socio-economic status, religion, race, caste and creed of the accused or the victim is irrelevant consideration in sentencing policy. Protection of society, deterring the criminal is the allowed object of the law, and that is required to be achieved by imposing an appropriate sentence. In the above mentioned cases, the principles for the guidance in sentencing for the judges in the sentencing part of the criminal trial are suggested. It is important to note that the victim's participation or victim's experience from the offense is not even considered for sentencing the offender. According to the apex court, the plight, pain, harm, etc. suffered by the victim should not be a factor in sentencing the offender. What happens to the right of the victim to the justice to the harm suffered? Well, he can be satisfied if the state successfully gets the criminal punished to a death, a prison sentence, or a fine. In accordance with the harm suffered by the victim, how does he get justice if the state does not succeed in doing so? Can he ask the state to compensate him or her for the injury? In principles, that should be the logical consequence in such a situation. But the situation which makes the law absolves itself. Victims of crime are important player in criminal justice administration, both as complainant and informant as witness for the police and prosecution. Despite the system being heavily dependent on the victim, criminal justice has been concerned with the offender and his interest, almost subordinating or disregarding the interest of the victim. The pertinent question that is required to be answered is this the complete justice we want from our criminal justice system? To the contrary to the earlier view of the case of Ambika Prasad versus State of Delhi, the Supreme Court was pleased to observe that criminal trial meant for doing justice not to the accused but also to the victim and the society. So that law and order maintained, the judge does not proceed over the criminal trial merely to see that no innocent man is punished, but the judge also proceeds to see the guilty man does not escape. One is important as the other, and both the public duties which the judge has to perform. This is an important aspect that victim injustice was considered by Supreme Court. In other parts of the world, the victim is treated better in the criminal justice system. The participation of the victim is more than what is it in India. In other jurisdictions across globe, there have been various ways are devised for increasing the participation of the victim in the criminal justice system. In Australia, there is a concept of victim impact statement. This statement may be provided by the victim at the stage of sentencing. It is important to note that this is optional. There is no foundation created by law for its strict compliance. In the year 1988, Canada included the concept of victim impact statement. Restitution preferred over punishment and created victim surcharge, even though most of the processes or changes introduced by the criminal justice system were unsuccessful. In contrast, the introduction of the victim impact statement does not impose an enormous fiscal burden upon the government and as such should not be doomed to failure. Yet studies suggest that the impact statement has not been a dramatic impact on the sentencing landscape. In India, there is no bar on victims' representation in the court with regard to consequence of the crime, but there is no specific provision or due process of law for the same. It is important to understand that where there is no sanction of law or backing of the law, rarely any new practice is introduced in the system. In the recent past, criminal amendments were introduced through which the definition of victim compensation schemes were brought in the statute book. In the West, one of the methods that has been introduced is victim-offender mediation. It is a process of mediation between the offender and the victim. it is important to understand that when a case is decided through mediation, it is a win-win situation for both the parties. The role of mediator is to mediate and moderate the discussions between the offender and victim. One of the advantages of this process is that it helps in healing the wounds of the victim. It is also advantageous in the avoidance of reoccurrence of the crime by the offender, as it helps in sensitizing the offender with regard to the consequences of his acts. Indian criminal justice system does not recognize such mediation between the offender and victim, but it may be considered that Section 320 of Code of Criminal Procedure Code 1973 is a way to introduce such mediation. At the judicial level, there are some cases which are against an individual more than it is against the society. These types of offences can be compounded without permission of the court under subsection 1 of section 320 of Criminal Procedure Code 1973. The offences under this category are hurting religious feeling of a person, hurt, confinement, mischief, criminal trespass, adultery, defamation, etc. The procedure was introduced, however, with aim to only dispose the number of pending cases, but not to strive on the path of restorative justice. The application of Section 320 of Code of Criminal Procedure Code is limited to the extent of the offences mentioned in subsection 1 and 2. There are other ways in India through which the victim is involved in the justice system. One of the ways is Panchayati level. After 73rd and 74th Amendment, the concept of Panchayati Raj system was introduced in the legal system. At Panchayat level, petty cases are heard, and during the process, impact on the victim because of the entire crime was considered while educating the case. However, in rural India, it has been observed that there is awareness about the Panchayati Raj system, which tries to dispense justice at minimum cost, and the perspective of the victim is secured. The judiciary does not have any scope to act in Panchayati Raj system, as it is subservient to the executive, as the heads of panchayats are elected. Above are the few initiatives in India and abroad to include victim in the criminal justice system. From the above discussion, the points to remember are: victim is very important in the criminal justice system. Victim's perspective of justice is also to be considered in sentencing. Victim impact statement and victim offender mediation can be new methods to increase victim participation in sentencing. Section 320 of Code of Criminal Procedure can be a good method for victim participation. The most pertinent part of the discussion is to be aware of the expectations of victims from criminal justice system. If the question is raised, what are the expectations of victims from the criminal justice system? To this question, the probable answers can be justice, revenge, or something else. Does concept of justice differ for victim or offender or state's perspective? Yes, it does. We are concerned about the victim's thought of justice in this part. In the previous sections, we have discussed about the non-consideration on the part of Indian criminal judicial system with regard to the victim's expectations from the sentencing. The English case of R versus P provides the importance and reliability of victim as an evidence in a criminal trial. The court held that because of our adversarial system of criminal justice, the victim is not directly represented and has no more right to be heard in the sentencing process than in the trial. A difficulty arises as to how information relating to the effect on the victim is to be gathered and presented to the court. The reliable information of the nature should be presented in the public interest and not only in the interest of injured victim or the accused if the victim has escaped relatively unharmed. Since a proper sentence should not be based on misconception or ignorance of salient facts, this is necessarily any unfairness or impropriety in the representative of the Crown assisting in this regard. The prosecutor appears in the public interest and has a role of assisting the court in reaching a fair decision rather than exclusively advocating a particular interest. The above mentioned cases states that the victim as an evidence is not 100% reliable, or the focus of the justice system should not be only the interest of the victim. Unfortunately, Indian judicial system is following the same opinion with regard to victim as an evidence in the court of law. This perception needs to be changed, or the approach towards the victim's pain and hardship has to be revisited. The need is that the judiciary considers victim pain and harm with other factors while sentencing the convict. Here I would like to introduce some statistics based on the study done in England and Wales conducted for the probation services. 94% of the victims of crime said that the most important thing to them was that offender did not commit the crime again. It is very important to note that victims do not expect revenge, rather a lesson for the offender that not to repeat the offense. The same study found that 81% would prefer an offender to receive an effective sentence rather than a harsh one. It can be inferred that the general view of the victims at large is that sentence should be effective and the criminal justice system should ensure that the offender does not commit the same offense again. This research is very successful and impressive with the aspect of involving victims to reach the conclusion that sentencing is an important aspect of criminal trial. Where there should be necessarily be heard, the probable expectations of the victims from sentencing are the inclusion of victim impact statement or victim personal statement in a criminal procedure should be made at the legislature level. The submission of victim impact statement or victim personal statement should be made mandatory for the sentencing purposes, as these statements will provide the effect of the crime or offense on the victim or his or her family. The sentencing should focus on rehabilitation of offender. The rehabilitation should be of such a nature that it ensures that offender will not repeat the crime again. A study is required with respect to the duration of the sentences and their effectiveness in achieving the goal of rehabilitation. Innovative methods of sentencing should be adopted, like community service or sentencing. These methods may not be 100% successful, as the offenders may fail in community service. Every legal system depends certainly as its primary object. For reaching the above mentioned goal, it is necessary to make the process of sentencing transparent and effective. The participation of the victim should be made mandatory in sentencing stage of a criminal trial. The prosecutor should ensure their participation in the sentencing process. There are many victims who are illiterate or who do not have any legal background. The court should ensure that the sentences are explained to them in the language in which the victims or the legal representatives are comfortable. This step will create the faith of the victim in the criminal justice system. Step-by-step communication of the judicial proceeding should be made to the victim or his legal representative by the state for better understanding of the procedure. The need of the hour is that different stakeholders like victims, NGOs dealing in restorative justice, judges, retired judges, and advocates should come together and create a mechanism of realizing the goals created by restorative justice. Victims' perspective of justice in India is not supported by any exhaustive legislation per se, but we do find its traces and fragments in precedents. Either the amendments in the existing law are required or the new law supporting the concept of restorative justice is to be enacted. The concept of retributive justice often overrides restorative justice, considerably because of high number of cases pending in district courts and legal awareness, in which India ranks 59th according to a study in the United States, where criminal justice system was assessed. When we compare criminal justice system to victim-oriented justice system, the broad line difference is that criminal justice system, the crime committed violates the law and the state. On the other hand, in victim-oriented justice system, the crime committed violates people and obligations which are to the contrary. The need of the hour is well described by the Andrew Ashworth in his words when he says, the fundamental proposition is that justice to victims becomes a central goal of the criminal justice system and of sentencing. Crime committed against have increased gallantly in recent past, which is alarming and calls for reforms. In current justice system, which is more inclined toward retributive justice system of justice, the requirement is to shift the focus on the satisfaction of the victim from the justice system. Increased victim satisfaction will in fact enhance the efficiency of the criminal justice system by ensuring his future support to the system. In the year 1985, the United Nations adopted the Declaration of Basic Principles of Justice for Victims of Crime and Abuse of Power. One of the rights provided to the victim of crime was access to justice and fair treatment, which includes prompt redress, right to be informed of benefit and entitlements under the law, right to be necessary support services throughout the proceedings, right to protection of privacy and safety. This right was further referred by Malimat Committee report. The victim's right to participate in a criminal trial shall inter alia include the right to provide evidence, to put questions to witnesses with the leave of the court, to be informed of the status of investigation, to move court to ensure proper investigation, to be heard on issues relating to bail and withdrawal of prosecution, to advance arguments after the prosecutor has submitted his arguments at every stage of the trial, and to participate in settlements of the compoundable offences. The recommendations of Malimat Committee require its realization through the desired legislations or amendments in the existing law. Some guiding principles could be made from formation of a law commission on the victim's roles in sentencing, which would praise the plight of restorative justice in India, as the system is in the need of civilized and a prosperous society. Thank you.